This is the 007 Debriefings. I am Intelligence Officer Wiz.
And I'm Weapons Specialist Zero.
Zero, how you doing this week?
Doing all right.
Good. So we are here to comb the files of MI6 and look at all the cinematic adventures of one 007, that is James Bond. And we're going to continue on with the final Connery film officially. There is one more, technically, but we're not going to get into that one just yet. And that movie is, of course, Diamonds Are Forever from 1971. So let's just get into our mission objectives for Diamonds Are Forever. We go through the entirety of the movie in 5 different categories. And we're going to start with 007, who is James Bond, played by Sean Connery for technically the last time. I talked about this before we started recording, and I'm just going to repeat exactly what I said. The moment that you see Connery doing what he does best in the other 5 films that he was in as James Bond, it just felt right. I don't have a more technical term for it, but it was like, this is nice. It's just nice seeing Bond shooting people. It's just a warm cackle in my heart that just shows like, this just feels good. I like this. But with that being said, this film just doesn't do anything to advance the Connery Bond. To me, this is like a greatest hits album of Bond with Connery in this. The movie just sets up to where it just does all the things that people loved about Connery as Bond. There's the one-liners at the end of certain sequences, the rough and tumbleness of him. That stuff is all there, and it's just like, this feels so good. It's not his best, I will agree to that, but it just feels like the film was just made to be like, we'll just give you what you like about Connery as Bond, and then that's it.
It's kind of funny because just right from the get-go, Bond is just pure thuggish brutishness because you just have him just killing guys here and there, beating up guys to try to find out where Blofeld is, and it's really funny in the beginning of this movie too, because like you see just kind of a woman just sitting by a pool and everything, and you're just like, all right, so Connery's gonna turn on the charm, right? And then it's just like, no, he is choking her out, going, damn it, where's Blofeld? I'm just like, holy shit!
With her own bikini. That's such I was like, whoa, hold on a second. But like, yeah, when I saw that, I was like, wow, that is fucking clever. Hold on a second. Why has no one else done this? I was like, this is funny. But like, yeah, I have an issue with that specifically though, because the only way to interpret that entire rage is that he was angry at the fact that Blofeld killed his wife. I think specifically that each actor who plays Bond is a different Bond, but this treats it as like Lazenby and Connery were the same person. And if that's the case, how do you explain the 10-year age difference? There's that issue, and the other issue that I have with Connery is that it is clear he is aged out of this role, and this is just a nostalgic trip. Physically, he can do it. Definitely see that. But if you look at his face and you look at his body, it is clear he is getting a little bit older, and he might get too old for this role. And with nobody pointing that out in the film, it feels a little odd. Is it a big distraction? No. But it's just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I can see why he made sure this was the last movie.
Overall, just performance-wise, just it's the Connery Bond that you know and expect, so nothing too iteratively great as like an improvement, but it's nothing bad either. No. And I think your summation of it, that it's just kind of the greatest hits album of Connery's Bond, is pretty spot on. Let's
get into the villains. There is one main villain and a pair of sub-villains, so why don't we just get to the main villain right now, which is, of course, Ernst Stavro Blofeld, played by Charles Gray. The film does a good job basically giving the excuse to why Blofeld looks different again, which is plastic surgery, which, on the one hand, it's like, okay, cool. On the other, well, you're also like 6 feet taller than the last guy. How does that work? But if you just turn your brain off, you're like, oh, okay, fine, I'll go with it. It's like, whatever, it's fine. Charles Gray is the one who played Blofeld in this version. I think he's better than Pleasance in You Only Live Twice, but I don't think he's as good as Savalas. He pretty much plays on more of, I would say, what Pleasance was doing, who is a little more methodical, a little more intelligent, maniacal, nowhere near as weird, but he's nowhere near as intimidating as Savalas was in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. It's a good performance, but I still think Savalas is better.
I would say I would be inclined to agree. Just definitely not quite as cartoonish as the first actual outing of Blofeld, but the previous movies' portrayal of Blofeld was just so much more dialed in my opinion. So, yeah, just this one is kind of a nice balance. In my mind, it's not ideal because I quite love Savalas' portrayal of Blofeld because it was just so much more cunning and much more calculated.
Yes. I agree, and I just think the performance by Savalas is a lot better in that as well. It makes you really believe that he is an intimidating presence that could lead an entire organization and get the respect to do it as well. So, but Gray is not bad. I like Gray in this, but I just think Savalas is better overall. Why don't we get into the other villains, which are Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd, played by Bruce Glover and Putter Smith. Zero, I gotta say, the idea of a couple being a villain pair is a really good idea. I really like that thought. Like, it's just a very loving, supportive couple who just murders fools. Something about that was like, that kind of sounds cool. But here's the thing. Okay, so Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd, they're made to be incredibly odd and creepy in tone and mannerisms, and they're clearly made to be bound to the hip in a lot of different ways that are done to not be like, oh, they're just a couple. It's meant to, like, weird people out. Like, who are these weirdos? And I think we can both say comfortably they're gay, right?
That or they're very comfortable with each other.
I think they're interesting. I think this is an interesting villain that I would like to see again sometime. But the other problem I had with them is whenever they are around, you know something's about to happen. There isn't a down point with them. It's just like, when they're there, something is gonna go wrong. I think that kind of makes them less interesting because they just seem to be the plot device in this movie.
Some of their shenanigans were almost kind of slapstickish. it was just always kind of goofy. I don't know what it was, but it kind of had a Dumb and Dumber vibe in some cases. I'm just like, ah, God, all right, things are either going to get really shitty for somebody and somebody's going to end up very dead, or we're going to have some really fucking hinky shenanigans going on.
Overall, I think they're decent henchmen, but they're just nowhere near as good as Objob or Red, I would say. So, like, they're fine, but they would have been a lot cooler if they would have had more time or did something more interesting with them. Bond Girl, which is Tiffany Case, played by Jill St. John. I will say this. In the beginning, I thought she wasn't bad. I like the fact that this Bond Girl was kind of a villain, or in the crime world, she was a jewel smuggler, correct? And yeah. And you would have to be pretty cunning and intelligent to do well in that, which she did. You can definitely believe that she is.
I thought she was kind of a planner because she always seemed to sort of have a excuse or an escape for whatever sort of jam that she may encounter. Then by later in the movie, just that all sort of goes out the door, and she just sort of becomes a damsel in distress, which was kind of a weird juxtaposition because I was just like, wait a second, how in the hell does this woman who seems to be sort of a brilliant planner has contingency after contingency after contingency when shit goes bad somehow just completely just lose all sense of that and become the damsel in distress? That's kind of weird.
Thank you for pointing that out, because that was going to be my next thing. And my answer to you, Zero, is the magic penis just gets stronger as age goes by. That's what happened, honestly. Because I gotta tell you, with this version of Bond and his magic penis, it just must get more potent as age goes on. Because holy shit, did this character go from cunning, smart, intelligent, seductive, cagey to, yes, dear, are you gonna save me? What are we gonna do? I don't know if I can shoot this gun. Oh my God, I'm falling off the edge. Like, oh my God, what the hell happened? Now, some might say, like, well, she has to in order to save herself. Which, okay, fine. But you want that character to hint towards that, to say that to make it look like that she has a plan to get out of that, and this is part of her plan. But they kind of throw that out the door throughout the second half of the film, when she is basically his partner and his plaything. I would say for the first part, she's good. On the second part, she's highly disappointing. I agree with you. I think it was a disappointing Bond girl in this one. And Jill St. John is all right, but the way they wrote this character is just, It was pretty bad, I think.
It was kind of a weird and disappointing juxtaposition. Just meticulous planner at the beginning, very cunning, very clever, always finds a way out of a jam to, nope, I'm completely helpless. It's just like, God, why?
Oh, it was so bad. It was like, Jesus Christ. Okay, let's get into spy action. A definite step up from On Her Majesty's Secret Service. But again, I think it's because Connery knows how to do all this so well that it just feels right. But what I will say is there is a huge improvement in this movie when it comes to vehicle sequences, specifically car chases, because it doesn't look like they use green screen and projection much in this movie. It looks like everything was done on set, or it was done at location, or that the way that they shot it was with stunt cars. I think they did a really good job in those sequences.
The vehicular stuff is such a vast improvement, and it was just kind of pleasant to see that there wasn't any sort of like weird green screen projection shenanigans where like you've got green screen projecting an actor getting run over by a car and the human actor somehow becomes like 7 foot tall and things like that, like we've seen in some of the past movies. So it's like, oh, thank goodness, just the driving is just stunt driving and practical effects. This is fantastic.
So I don't know if there isn't any of that. I think there might be, but they're just so well hidden that you don't notice it. I think there isn't, but if there is, we're just not noticing it, which I think is still a great thing about this.
Yeah, there was some green screen shenanigans towards the end when the satellite is up in action, and it looks fucking corny.
Yeah, but I can kind of understand that a little bit. So I'm like, it's not so bad.
Yeah, because I think the scenes that stick out in my mind are when they target a volcano and it explodes. The explosion is just on top of like a video of a volcano just erupting. I was like, all right, I'll give him that. I mean, you're firing a satellite super weapon, but there wasn't really good CG back at the time, so I'll give him that. And then I think the other real goofy scene when the satellite was activated was when they targeted China and started like heating up their nukes, and and you just see like this Chinese soldier just pop up in front of the green screen, and he's like, ah! I was just like, yeah, I get it. Satellite super weapon, you gotta have like some soldiers reacting like they're being blown up by their own weapons being heated up by this death satellite. But oh man, this just looks so corny.
Yeah, I mean it was corny, but it was pretty funny. But overall, I think the action is great in this movie. It's just like I said with Bond in himself, it is a greatest hits version of all the great sequences that the other Connery films have done. There's great close quarter sequences, gunplay, hand-to-hand, stuff like that. It all works because it's just a remembrance of those really good sequences. I don't think it beats any of those. I still think Goldfinger and From Russia with Love is better, but it's still very good, I think.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's just pretty solid stuff. It's not like a dramatic leap or anything like that, but yeah, I mean, overall, I'd say it's pretty damn good.
Okay, so let's move into the theme song and opening credits, which is Diamonds Are Forever, music by John Barry, lyrics by Don Black, and performed by Shirley Bassey. Holy shit, is this a top 5. This theme song is so good. It's so catchy. And the way that Shirley Bassey sings it is really good too. Like, I love this song. It is a top 5 when it comes to theme songs for Bond movies. It's top 5, like, for me, hands down. I'm not even gonna say more about it. It's just a really good song.
The intro song was one that I had almost forgotten how catchy it was, since it's been a while since I've seen this movie. And I remember just when it just kicks off, I was like, oh, wow, I forgot how catchy this one is, and it's so well done. I was like, oh my god, what a banger. Oh. This is gonna be a great movie.
It's no wonder this song is being sampled still to this day. Like, it is just an incredibly good song. It is high energy. It's got a really good singer in it doing the singing, and just good lyrics. It's catchy as hell too, which, oh man, love this song. And another thing I really like, too, is the opening credit sequence. Really borrows the things from the other Connery films, which is why I was still so surprised that the Lazenby one on Her Majesty's Secret Service was just not as good. I get stylistically changing it up, but you want to improve on what you were doing, and that was just a clear step back. But this sequence is really good with the diamonds and the different women and how they shot it. It was just a beautiful looking sequence.
It was just a step better than the previous movie, and the previous movie, unfortunately, wasn't a very high bar. So I mean, it was kind of a low bar to clear for this one. So fantastic intro sequence with a paired to a very, very good song.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this song. Overall, 0. Mission accomplished or mission failure?
Mission accomplished. This one is one that people should take time and watch because, like you said in the beginning, it's kind of a Sean Connery Bond greatest hits album, and it's just fantastic overall. Add in the fact that you've got just a wonderful opening sequence with a fantastic song paired to it. Yeah, it's just one that you shouldn't miss out on.
I agree. It's mission accomplished for me, too. I think this is probably one of the better ones that Connery has done. But like we've mentioned throughout the entire review, it really is just a greatest hits of all the other Bond films that Connery has done. Because they made the film specifically to be like, all right, let's just use all the strengths that Connery has and let's just make a film that is all about that. And it works very well. The only thing that does not work in this movie is the Bond girl, which is really unfortunate because I think this could have been probably one of the best that they have done in this. But because the Bond girl is completely lacking, kind of laughably bad at the end, it kind of hurts the film. But overall, I think Diamonds Are Forever is a very good Bond film. I really enjoyed this. I thought this was fun. I mean, it's not the best Bond, but it's certainly one that I think you would have a good time if you love Connery.
I know some people feel that Connery may be a little bit hammy, but I don't know. I don't see it that way personally.
Overall, I think this is a mission accomplished. I had a great time. I thought this was a lot of fun. Mission accomplished for me and mission accomplished for you. 0, correct?
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. Mission accomplished for Diamonds Are Forever. Now, if you want my full review on this movie, you can go to my website at IamTheWiz.com. You'll have my full written review right on the site, along with a link to the video that has this review that you just listened to. Thank you for listening to this review. If you want to know what we're reviewing in the next couple of days, you can look on the screen right now to see what's coming up next. If you like what you heard, go ahead and leave a like on this video. If you want to discuss your opinion on the film or the review itself, please leave a comment. And if you want to hear more, subscribe to the channel. Thank you again for listening. I will talk to you next time.